Welcome to the Think Fitness Life podcast, where we bring the mind, body, and gym together so you can improve your health, increase performance, and live your best life. For more information, visit thinkfitnesslife.com. Here are your hosts, Matt Gluckman and Eric Menchie.
Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Think Fitness Life podcast, everything mindset, exercise, nutrition related, giving you all the tools you need in your toolbox to live your best life. Really excited with this interview. We got to interview Dr. Peter Martone, who is a sleep professional. I mean, he's been doing this for 23 years. He was a trainer, he's a chiropractor, and now he is an educator and public speaker. He basically is teaching people how to sleep properly, right? Everyone always talks about why sleep's so important. We talk about different benefits and different things that it can correct, but no one's really telling us how to sleep and the importance of posture when it comes to our rest and digest system, our parasympathetic nervous system, and how the position we sleep in can greatly affect that system. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. All right. Welcome, Dr. Peter Martone. As I started off, I think one of the things that they talk about is that they could combine all the benefits that we get from sleep into a pill for a fix-all for people. They would have already done it by now, but they can't do that. So we got to keep educating the public on how to sleep better, how to sleep appropriately, and why it's so important. So welcome. Thanks for being on our show. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine, man. I really appreciate you having me. We're going to take a really, different approach to sleep here. Something, I hope that your, listeners gain a whole bunch of value from, and it's really kind of going to hit them from out left field because so much is tied into sleep in a way that people don't even realize.
And I think the beauty of what we try to do as professionals is just continue to deliver tools in people's toolbox for the right application for when they need to correct something or where they need to work with another client of theirs or a patient of theirs to help them or assist them. So I want to go ahead and dive right into, I love that you have been on Dr. Gundry's podcast. I'm a big fan of the plant paradox and the longevity paradox. I myself have ulcerative colitis, so mitigating digestive issues has always been important to me. But let's just highlight, I know the list could go on, but let's just highlight some of the key problems that we see with the lack of proper and adequate sleep.
Well, I think every chronic disease, right? 90% of all chronic disease is lifestyle based. And a lot of that is tied into sleep, right? Lack of fatigue, because what happens is if you're running and you're not getting enough sleep, your adrenal glands take over. Your adrenal glands are your stress hormones, so you become sympathetic dominant. And then you suppress what's called the parasympathetic system, which is your thrive system. So you have survive here, and then you have thrive over here. So we run at such a high survive producer level, right? Always, go. I was listening to Seinfeld the other day, and he's like, everybody wants to be somewhere, but then when they rush to be there, they want to rush to get home. So really, nobody wants to be anywhere, right? We're always in a rush to do something, to go somewhere, and we end up we don't even want to be where we're rushing to get to. So we live that type of lifestyle. And because of that, people try to limit the amount of sleep that they get. And they're like, well, sleep is just something that I have to do. Well, if you want to have all of the apps on your iPhone, what are you going to have to do? You're going to have to plug it in more so you can get more performance out of the phone. Your body's the same way. We plug in at night when you sleep.
Yeah. And I think the major issue that people find is they probably don't even know that they're having these issues because of lack of sleep, right? It's like one of those things where you get a great night's sleep and you're like, whoa, I didn't know I could feel this good, or I could be this clear, right? Without any brain fog or joint pain, things like that. So tell me a little bit about how you got into what you do today.
Yeah. So I am, and I'm a kinesiologist, and an exercise physiologist. So the study of biomechanics has really always been my jam. And then I'm also a chiropractor for 24 years. So understanding the dynamics between the structure of the nervous system I mean, structure of the spine, how it affects the central nervous system. So, to kind of rewind, when I was on my way to medical school, but when I was in high school, I had an auto accident, which had brought me to a chiropractor. I didn't really jive with it whatsoever, but I had always had a digestion issue ever since that auto accident. And I was going to medical school, and I'd met a chiropractor, and he's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I'm going to medical school." He's like, "Have you ever thought about chiropractic?" I'm like, "Oh man, not my jam. It's not really, the direction I want to go." And he was kind of, drilling me on some stuff. And I said, "Oh yeah, I have stomach issues." He's like, "You're too young to have stomach issues." And he's like, "It could be from the nerves, right?" And he convinced me to get adjusted. Well, after the first adjustment, I never had to take antacids again. And I'm like, wait a second, how can that be? How can an adjustment to the spine fix my stomach? So then I started to research it and understand that our biomechanics are so significantly important to our overall health and wellness. So when I got into chiropractic, I'm adjusting people. People come into me for everything: autoimmune issues, psoriasis, diabetes, everything across the board. Because what we do is we like to adjust the spine, align the spine, and improve the neurology. Well, what happens though is I was adjusting everybody the same way because they're coming in with the same patterns. And as long as I was adjusting them, they were doing good, but they always needed me to stay good. And that just didn't sit well with me. I'm like, what is causing all of this dysfunction? And people are dysfunctional in very systematic patterns. And most people have the same issues. If you have a digestion issue, you also have autoimmune issues. If you have digestion issues, you're going to have hormonal issues. Low testosterone levels are going to be connected to these. And all of these things are connected. So I started looking at these things. And it wasn't until it was about 9 years ago now, I was in a mountain biking accident and herniated my disc. And when I herniated my disc, I'm in the emergency room, not understanding if I was going to even be able to practice anymore because my entire leg was numb. I get out of the emergency room and I'm like, I got to figure this stuff out. So I reviewed 3,000 x-rays and I found that there was a pattern. As my head came forward due to the righting reflex, my body compensated with the psoas major muscle spasm, and that's the only muscle in the human body that attaches directly to a disc. So I had hip issues and back issues my whole life. I had shoulder issues. So I'm like, holy mackerel, can I change my sleeping position? So I started changing my sleeping position to fix my structure. Yeah. And all of this stuff started to go away. Then I started changing the sleeping position of my patients. And now they finally started holding their adjustments. So now 8 years later, I'm in the sleep industry. I'm not in the sleep industry to help people sleep. I'm in the sleep industry to help their structure while they sleep. Right.
No, as personal trainers, we always are talking about posture and strengthening the body in the right posture we need. Like I understand a little bit, but we as trainers can help somebody in the gym, but what matters most, to your point, is that parasympathetic nervous system. What position are they in when their body's doing all the rest and digest processes? And yeah, so I was really excited to get you on here when I saw that you were about posture, but specifically in correcting it in that crucial period when you're sleeping. So tell me a little bit how you address that while they're sleeping.
So it's interesting. So we're coming up with a program for trainers, for doctors. It's called the neurostructural protocol. So I'm getting people certified in a way I can look at people and tell them what's wrong internal, because neurology controls muscle structure, right? Mm-hmm. So the nerves are trumped, and that follows proprioception. So what happens is your awareness in space is all due to what's called the vestibular system. The body wants to keep the head straight, and body posture adjusts the head position. So as your head comes forward, the body twists and it causes imbalances. It's the neurology causing the imbalance. So if I can teach trainers how to read neurology, you'll train a very different way. And so reading neurology, to me, that's what I'm an expert in. I can look at people and see the way they hold themselves and then understanding how the neurology affects the structure, then we can back in a plan to be able to fix that. So the first way that we're able to do that is we have to work under, laws, right? Law in the body is like gravity. You drop something, it falls. That's gravity. That's a law. Law in the body states that body posture adjusts to head position. And also the second law, basically, this isn't, I call it like the Martone-ish law. It's kind of a law, but and this law. If you don't use it, you
lose it.
Right? It's how the body works. So what does that mean? Anytime you support something in the body, do you make it stronger or weaker? You make it weaker. Anytime. Let's say I put a back support on. You're making the back weaker. Let's say you put a cast on the knee. You keep that in a period of time. You're making it weaker. Let's say I'm putting in arch support. You're making the arch weaker.
Or even shoes in general, right? Or like a prosthetic to the foot.
It's anytime you support something, you weaken it. So what is the definition of a pillow? A support. For your head, right? So just by this pure fact, if we look at it, you're destroying the structure of your cervical spine by using a pillow.
Yeah.
Now that's independent of what position you're sleeping in. If you support the head, you destroy the structure of the cervical curve. And
so are we all supposed to sleep on our back? Or we're just supposed to sleep on our back?
You're supposed to sleep on your back, but that's not enough because people still use a pillow under their head, which supports their head. What you want to do in contrast to that. So most people, this is a cervical curve. We're supposed to have a curve in our neck. Because we're on cell phones all day long, we're on computers all day long, and we sleep curled up in little balls because we feel protected in those positions, this is what's happening to people. So you're losing the structure. In order to gain the structure, you can support the neck, but you want to use the weight of the head off of the back of the pillow or the neck nest, I'll show you, to cause distraction. Because distraction is a stress, which will gently stretch a curve back into the neck. So it's not enough just to sleep on your back. You want to put something under your neck so the neck hangs off of the back of the pillow. So
interesting. So you get that S back in your spine.
Yeah. So here, right? If I'm lying down here, I want a pillow. This is a neck nest, but I want that under my neck. So the weight of my head is gently distracting the cervical curve. And because distraction is a stress, it will gently stretch a curve back into your neck. It's
a stimulus that you put on the body to basically do what it needs to do its job correctly, because it's been supported to making it weaker again. The way that I kind of was thinking about it when you're talking about it is we just planted some peach trees and they told us, like, do not put a stake and attach it to the stake, because you're supporting it and you're weakening its ability to create its own stabilization system.
And the roots will not grow in lieu of the stress of the wind. Correct.
It's the same thing with the head and the neck and the cervical spine.
Yes. Misha Tate. Do you know Misha? She just won world female UFC.
Okay. Okay.
MMA. And she's a friend of mine, and when I had her speak in front of one of my groups, and she gave this explanation, very similar. Scientists wanted to build the perfect trees. So they built the perfect trees in the perfect environment with the perfect, inside, with the perfect atmospheric pressure, the perfect amount of water. As the trees grew, they fell over. Why? They didn't have the wind. They didn't have the adversity of the wind indoors. So the weight of the tree couldn't hold itself because the roots weren't strong. So adversity and stress causes deep roots. So
necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if somebody wants to correct their sleep posture, can they just take their regular old pillow and start using it at their base of their neck?
Okay. So here's a neck nest and here's a pillow, right? Okay. So if you want to use your pillow, you got to make sure your pillow's soft. It can't be a hard pillow. and you do not use your pillow as designed. You use your pillow on an angle like this. Okay? So it's straight up. What do you think I'm going to do with my neck?
Lay your neck across it.
Absolutely.
But to your point, if there's too much stiffness in the pillow, you're going to add an extra forward position of your neck that you don't want.
Exactly. So you're going to put a pillow underneath your neck, creates these like wings around your ears. But in the idea, the problem is people want, like, one of the reasons when we go to sleep, you think that you go to sleep and you're in a comfortable position. You're not. The average person tosses and turns 20 to 40 times a night. You're in a position where you feel safe. So we will want to feel safe in our positions. That's why people curl up in little balls. I was just doing an interview.
Fetal position.
The fetal position. That's a safe position. I was just doing an interview with a doctor in San Diego, and she was like, "What? My son wants to sleep on my arm and have his hand in my shirt, and he curls up in a ball." I'm like, "Why do you think he's doing that?" "Well, because I breastfed." No, because he feels safe there, yeah. Right? So we are always told when we're younger, go to sleep, but nobody ever taught us how to sleep. So we put ourselves asleep in these curled up balls and positions that aren't sustainable. So you toss and turn all night long, and it's destroying the structure of your spine. That's why people have like 15 different pillows and they can never find the right one. It's not the pillow, right. It's how you're using it.
Right. So is it okay if I support my neck and then turn to my left or my right, or do I want to really? Okay, cool.
So all I want people to do is to start in the position. You're not in control at night. We want to be in control every aspect of our lives, but you're not. You are only in control with how you fall asleep.
Okay.
Right? So just put yourself in the correct position to fall asleep. Let the body do the rest in the middle of the night. Doesn't matter. You'll only be in that position for 45 minutes to an hour before you turn. That's fine. But if you put yourself in a position that gives your body the best chance to stay in that position, you can put a glass of water on my chest and it will still be there in the morning. I don't move. I don't toss and turn. And that's because my body is in a neutral sleeping position. We call it now the corrective sleeping position. But it's in a corrective sleeping position where my body weight is distributed over the greatest surface area. My curves of my spine are good, and they act as springs. So there's no pressure points when I sleep. And it takes a long time to get there, but you just think about falling asleep in that position, and then don't worry about what happens in the middle of the night. It'll just happen.
What are some of the other keys to, we just talked about, controlling the position you fall asleep in, but what are some of the other keys that you can do to make sure you wake up with a good night's sleep?
Well, one of the reasons we fall asleep in that curled up fetal positions is because we want to feel protected. Most people, especially with sports related injuries and damage to their shoulders, it's because of the way that we're sleeping and we're curled up in a ball. When we go and we sleep on our back, we're going to feel exposed to the environment. And remember, when you feel safe and warm and comfortable, that's stimulating your parasympathetic nervous system. When you feel unsafe and you're ready to fight, that's your sympathetic nervous system. So we want to create safety when we're lying on our back. We do that with pressure. We do that with using eye masks, pressure over your eyes, like an ostrich sticking its head in the ground. That will create safety. Pressure on your chest, covers up underneath your chin, pillows on each side of you. Create this safe environment with pressure. That's one of the ways to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system so that you're able to get better sleep. And then second is temperature regulation. Make sure that you have your hands and your feet out of the covers so your body can temperature regulate, especially if you're in the fitness world. One of the toughest things is exercising late at night because your metabolism follows your heart rate.
Okay, gotcha. I thought maybe you'd raise your thermodynamics, your body's burning more, and it's a major reason why I got this from Dr. Gundry, was don't eat 4 hours before you go to bed, because not only are you elevating your core body temperature to digest, but you're actually losing out on some of the benefits of REM cycle, because a lot of that blood is being used to digest food.
Yeah, so actually your REM will rebound in a lot of people, but you'll make up your REM at the end of your sleep cycles. But what will be difficult is your deep sleep. So your deep sleep should happen in the first third of your sleep cycle. If a byproduct of digestion is heat, so if you're creating heat when your body temperature is supposed to drop, and also if you have too much food, your heart rate stays up. So you need your heart rate to drop, you need your core body temperature to drop, and you need your respiratory rate to drop. All of those when you're digesting food, when you exercise late, if you drink coffee after noon, those stimulants all keep those things elevated. So yes, you might fall asleep, but you don't get good restorative deep sleep, which is where we need to heal.
So we talked a lot about the benefits from getting a really good night's sleep, but I just want to also highlight some of the lesser obvious problems people could be experiencing that could be fixed by their sleep posture. You want to touch on those?
Yeah. So right behind me is a diagram. It's a little difficult to see, but that diagram represents what's called the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve so we have these two nervous systems in our body. We have the parasympathetic nervous system and then the sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic is our survive nervous system. If we're going to run from a tiger, we're going to get the hell out of here. We need cardiovascular system, respiratory system, musculoskeletal system, core body temperature. We're going to get out of there.
Yeah.
In contrast, the opposite is your thrive nervous system, where the body is going to grow. The thrive nervous system, or your parasympathetic nervous system, is your digestive tract, your immune system, and your reproductive system. Okay. So if somebody's going to have an issue, they're going to have an issue in all three of those
areas. Yeah.
Because the vagus nerve represents 80% of the entire parasympathetic nervous system. And the problem is your vagus nerve comes right out underneath this atlas and comes right down.
Okay.
So as you lose the curve through the carotid sheet where the vagus nerve is, the glossopharyngeal nerve, and the spinal accessory nerve, those three nerves all cause neck tension, shoulder trap tension, and then the vagus nerve gets compressed. So when I look at somebody and I see shoulders like this and head translation, I know that they have a digestion issue. I know that they have hormonal imbalances, and we know that they have immune system problems. And immune system issues like hypersensitivities. Anybody that has allergies is going to have some sort of digestion issue. And it's all because it's not, most people work on their high sympathetic tone. They try to meditate, which I think is great. They try to do all of these things, but they're not just sympathetic dominant, draining their adrenal glands. This is a concept that doesn't live in this world yet until I'm bringing it in. They're parasympathetic inhibited due to forward head posture, due to the way that they're sleeping. So that parasympathetic inhibition is what we can change at night by sleeping in the right position for 1 hour a night.
Yeah, I like to coach people, that the sympathetic nervous system is our fight and flight, and parasympathetic is rest and digest. And to your point, if we're looking to change our health and fitness position, performance, longevity, we might be working out for, 3 to 5 of the 168 hours in the week. But what matters most is those other 163 hours and what our body's doing at that time. And to your point, if it's inhibited, it's a classic line of, it's not how hard you can hit, it's how hard you can get hit and keep going. But our body's kind of already naturally, probably slowly degrading its ability to use its parasympathetic nervous system as we keep adding to this poor posture, to the kink in the atlas. Is that the first vertebrae under
the top bone in the human body? Yes.
Top bone. Okay. So yeah, to your point, targeting what the body does and making it do it better. I just love it. I love that that's your solution, and helping people make a big impact in their own personal health that way. But what if somebody is experiencing more symptomatic problems at firsthand? They're adjusting their pillow, but they want to see results quicker. I mean, do you have like multiple clinics around the country? Do people have to fly out to your location and see you? How does that work?
So the best thing to be able to get involved in our world is going to drsleepright.com. Like tonight, we have 300 people on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
And so I do programs.
Okay.
I educate based on, I have 5 pillars of sleep course. We have 4-week sleep challenges. We have deeper courses. We have certification programs. But learning from me virtually right now is the best way, because, ultimately, when we look at the reason why people don't get good sleep, first off, they can't get out of their own heads. They can't temperature regulate. They don't feel safe. It's a timing of sleep, and they're sleeping in the wrong position. So sleep experts now, they just talk about, oh yeah, you got to get better sleep. You got to get better,
right.
Deep sleep. And why? Deep sleep is where all the restorative sleep is, but nobody tells you how to do it. Yeah. Make sure that that your TV's off. No kidding. Right. Oh, make sure that the room is dark. Yeah. Okay. And everybody knows, keep your room at 68 degrees, but nobody understands the biomechanics of how the body functions, right? Like, especially like exercise physiologists and trainers, you're working with people, you're seeing the mechanics of how the joints move. How in our right mind can we sleep twisted like this and expect not to have sports related injuries, right? Because, anybody that has, let's say, plantar fasciitis or Achilles issues, they're leaning forward. Right, their body posture is adjusting to that forward head posture, so their calves are always in constant spasm, trying to hold them upright, and it's just causing Achilles bone spurs. That's the only reason. The body's adapting to stress. So when we can recognize all of these, and I can bring your awareness to these, I can do them through programs, and then you can I do have people fly out here, and they analyze, and I analyze them, and they send them home with a program. But most people, if you understand these principles and you take the time to dive into them, you'll know how to fix yourself.
You can do it yourself. Yeah, that's great. That's fascinating. I love that you can basically give people a tool to teach them how to fish, and rather than just give them a fish. Talking on this piece, I just want to bring up, like, the body's a tense and gritty structure. Like, to your point, what gives it structural integrity is constant tension in all different directions. And a lot of what we do as coaches, as personal trainers, is neuromuscular re-education, just getting their body to get in a better position. But I love it because we work in the sympathetic range, and you're working in the parasympathetic range, which is arguably more beneficial to someone's health and wellness in a long-term aspect. So what do you sell products? Do you sell a pillow? How do I get in touch with that? How do I find that?
Yeah, so if you go to drsleepright.com, we sell a neck nest right here, right? And then programs. And we also have a product called Deep Sleep. Now, Deep Sleep it's a supplement. And when people talk about sleep supplements, most people want to put themselves out, right? They need something to knock themselves out.
Right.
You cannot take a sleep supplement to knock yourself out, because what you're going to do is you're going to dive the body into this comatose sleep, like drinking like 5 glasses of wine.
Right.
Yeah, you go to sleep, but you're not going to get good quality of sleep. Right. So we have a sleep supplement that supports cooling your core temperature while you sleep. So it has L-arginine. It also has magnesium that relaxes your brain. So what we try to do with Dr. Sleep Right is we want to give you, so what I'm going to be doing now, and I actually just wrote this down on my 2024 tasks, is before somebody buys a neck nest, which is our pillow, I want them to watch a 10-minute video on how to sleep. Yeah. And then after that, they're going to get a 15% discount just for watching the video, because it's not,
because that matters more.
Yeah. The product can go into a corner, right? You can throw that thing in a corner. If you don't know how to use it, and you don't know why you're using it, it doesn't matter. And our company stands for, we want to help people get way better sleep, awakening their well-rested, aligned potential, right? And it's so important for me to transform people's lives versus just to sell products. So
For sure.
I love the education. So our brand's all about education.
And I love it because that's what our brand is as well. Like Think Fitness Life. It's all about how our perspectives and our attitudes and the way we think about something can really switch our paradigm to making it more effective. So I love that that's what you're about. Yeah, I'm going to have to try out I'm going to have to watch the video first, but then I'm going to have to try out a neck nest and re-educate my system to be comfortable sleeping with a neck support so that head can kind of freely hang a little bit, like you said. I don't want to take too much up of your time, and I think we really hit a lot of the bulk of what we wanted to talk about today, a lot of the most important meat and potatoes. What I always like to ask people is, like, what is their favorite exercise? Maybe it's running, lift, maybe you have a certain lift you like to do. And then I always like to ask people, like, what's their favorite, maybe inspirational quote or something that comes to mind?
Right. So my favorite exercise, well, I'm a mountain biker, right? So
okay.
I love
even after these accidents. Look at you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was just out I just did a snow ride this afternoon.
Nice.
So one of the exercises that I do is a lot of people have internal rotation of their shoulders, right?
Upper cross. Yep.
Upper cross. So and whenever you do rhomboids, they insert above the axis of rotation of the scapula. So they're going to roll the shoulders in. If you do back, like latissimus dorsi comes under, rolls the shoulder in. Your subscapularis, infraspinatus, supraspinatus, those roll the shoulder in. Most of the things that roll the shoulders in is everything that we do. So most people I had a really bad impingement syndrome in my shoulder until I started to work on inferior trap. So inferior trap is a reverse shrug. I do this every time I exercise now because the only thing that suppresses the shoulder blades and brings them down is getting the inferior trap. So I work teres minor and I work inferior trap. Inferior trap is holding a lat pull down bar, keeping your elbows locked and just squeezing the shoulders down. Let them up and squeeze the shoulders down. Working the inferior trap gives most people cramps in their back. So you have to tap on the inferior trap because it's uninnervated. But then, most people I got to keep my shoulders back. You don't keep your shoulders back. You just innervate inferior trap, and then that suppresses the shoulder and puts it in a perfectly aligned position. So that's my.
I love it. I love it. I'll be including it in my training programs.
So we're starting a company called Tissue Regen Centers, and it's using shockwave technology, all this new tissue regen technology, and then we're doing that coupled with a per joint lifestyle program. So yes, you'll come in, you'll get tissue regen on your shoulder, but then you have to watch our shoulder program to prevent re-injury. We have a knee program, we have an ankle program, and it's all based on proprioception and balance work, right? Getting on a wobble board, sleeping in the right position, and then doing specific exercises that are opposite the lifestyle that you're doing. It's called mechanism of injury.
To correct the issue that's going on, the compensation that's going on that's leading to a problem.
The neurology of the brain needs to refire.
What do you think about, I'll let you get to the quote question in a second, but what do you think about the concept of the forward head posture? Obviously, sleeping contributes to it, and cell phones and carrying bags and being at computers. But what do you think about the concept of just that we're bipedal and that walking is like controlled falling and gravity constantly, you slowly end up like the little old person who's looking for change on the ground all the time. Do you think that plays a role too? Just constant?
No. So that happens because, I had a lot of theories on that, right? Because that was a big portion of my study in human biomechanics is understanding. So as you atrophy your prefrontal cortex, you're going to have a forward lean. Okay?
Interesting.
So what atrophies the prefrontal cortex? So you're going to see this in old people. You're going to see this in underdeveloped or atrophied frontal cortexes. You also
lack
see
of
with
proper sleep.
ADD. No. You're going to see with ADD. You're going to see toe walkers do this. So I put a lot of study into this because I did a lot of work with ADD, having ADD myself. it's from an atrophied vermis in the brain. Well, an atrophied vermis causes, so that one of the functions of the vermis is to build the prefrontal cortex. The vermis controls proprioception. Okay. So when you have lack of proprioception or lack of movement, stimulus into the vermis, you atrophy the prefrontal cortex, which causes that forward lean. So you look at Biden, you see how he trips all the time? He has an atrophied, he's losing his marbles because he has an atrophied vermis. That is due to cervical mechanics. So cervical biomechanics, 80% of all proprioceptive signals in the spine are in the cervical spine, and it's in the upper cervical spine. So as people start to lose their range of motion side to side, as their heads come forward due to sleeping positions, body posture is going to lean forward. So you're losing that frontal plane. You use shoes. Shoes atrophies the vermis also, which atrophies the prefrontal cortex, which causes anxiety. Don't get me going. You got me going on this, but
I love it. I love it.
It's a huge deal, So this is all based on our neurostructural program that we're at, certification program, because everything follows neurology. Yes. So it is controlled falling, but we're meant to be bipedal, right? We're meant to walk with our heads up. When our heads come forward, it's a sign that
cortex atrophy.
So you'll be able to look at people when I'm done. So you know what would be good for you is to go to drsleepright.com and put your name on our waiting list, because I haven't launched a neurostructural protocol yet. But all of that is in there because it will teach you to train people differently. Because I'm going to teach you how to look at people, right? So think about a massage therapist, a trainer, a physical therapist, an osteopath, an MD, a DC. We all treat differently, but I'm going to teach you all how to look at people a similar way through the same lens. So when we open up this network of interdisciplinary health professionals, we're going to transform the way people communicate.
Wow, I love it. I'm all about it. I'm going to put myself on the waiting list. And so for those of you out there who are just an individual trying to improve their sleep, you heard it right from him. And if you're another training professional, you're going to do yourself a disservice if you're not addressing the neck and posture of the spine. Okay, favorite quote.
It's very simple. Be the change you want to see in this world.
Love it.
I love that because it's really inspired me to make a difference. I've questioned everything my whole life. I always slept in the position that I thought was a good position. You always hear people, no, this is how it is. No, this is what people say. Well, a number one defining characteristic of our health and well-being is our belief system, because our belief drives our actions.
Exactly.
So we're a product of our daily rituals. If we don't change our beliefs and we don't listen to, new people like you that are doing great things, then you're going to just be the same. But if you can learn and educate yourself, then that will change your behaviors, and then it's be, do, have.
Yes, I love it. I couldn't have said it better myself. Beliefs dictate your actions. Actions become habits, or actions become behaviors, and behaviors can become habits. So thank you so much, Dr. Peter Martone. It's been a complete pleasure. I'll be sure to include links to get to your website in the show notes. And thanks again.
All right, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
If you're ready to make steps towards improving your health or increasing your performance, book a free 30-minute call today by visiting thinkfitnesslife.com.